Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Aiden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and welcome to the finale part 1 analysis. Honestly, wish I didn't have to say this soon, because I thought we were gonna get a couple more months of other episodes, but whatever. We got the part 1 of the finale, no date for the second part, so we're just kind of sitting here idly, waiting for new news on that one. But honestly, I really do hope that we see Campbell and Felix before seeing the second part of the finale, just in case like something happens in the second part of the finale that references those two episodes. Luckily, this episode didn't have anything too big that referenced the other episodes, so that was good. So yeah, I guess let's just hop right into this analysis. Basically, this episode was the episode of ships, like the shipping episode, where we kind of start to break away from the initial ships of the Love Square and move on to the what I'm going to call the intermission ships while we're waiting for the next couple of seasons, because obviously Adrianette is the OTP, there's no denying that, but this is what I call the intermission ships. It happens in a lot of shows. It's the ships that just to include some drama there and to like draw out the ships longer, because I mean, there comes a point where it's like, okay, so is Marinette gonna confess or something already? Like, it takes a long time, so then the creators just throw in some drama there, just to like spice it up a little bit. So we start out with Marinette saying, that loss is a part of life. Now, what does this mean? Well, I'm pretty sure that this means something is going to be lost by the second part of this finale. It just makes sense, because why would they start off with that and then not continue? And I don't think that the thing that's going to be lost is going to be relating to Marinette and Adrian, or really just the ships in general. I think that this is going to be something more towards the plot side of things, like maybe Marinette and Adrian lose the battle to Hawkmoth, so that could be the thing that they lost. The reason I don't think it's anything with the ships is because even though Marinette lost Adrian, she gained Luca, so it's not, she didn't really technically, I mean, she did lose something, but she also gained something as well, so it wasn't a complete loss, whereas this loss I think is going to be something more dramatic and large. So Chloe's parents are celebrating their 20 years of marriage, and Gabriel has set up this huge dramatic plan because he knows exactly what he wants to happen, and this is the Battle of the Miraculous, or at least that's what he called it. So Gabriel purposely designed this present of like this cloak because he knew Chloe's mom gets angered easily, and when she's this close to the mayor, she's gonna get angry, causing them to fight and then causing them to be able to become akumatized. Now, Style Queen was one of the best akumatizees back in Season 2, and Maledictator was also pretty good, so it makes sense that this new combination of the two, not only is it just two people combined into one, making it more powerful in general, but it's also combining two previously powerful villains and combining them into one. And by the way, the design for this looks really weird, but it's also very well done. It looks very nice. So Hawkmoth knew that this combination of people would make a very striking villain and making it hard for Ladybug to counter. So he predicted that she would have to go find the Guardian, and that's what happened. Now, jumping back a little bit to talk more about the relationship side of this episode, Marinette first encounters Luca on the way out of her trying to deliver the pastries to the Grand Hotel or whatever they're at. So there's just a cool little interaction there, and then we cut to Marinette is at the hotel, and then she has to do some work with the baker's stuff. But then she meets up with Kagami and Adrian, and that's pretty cool. So they're having fun, and then we get to see this Marinette with her hair down. Now, we did hear that we would see Marinette with her hair down in sometime in this season, so it was cool that we got to see that. We finally get to see a new look of Marinette. And then the whole ice cream scene comes, and then this is when Marinette realizes, I'm just gonna have to lose this battle. And I know that that kind of ties back like, oh, Marinette lost the battle for Adrian. I still don't think that's what the loss is in this case, but Marinette did lose the battle for Adrian in this episode, so that's another thing that she lost, I guess, so you could relate it to both things. Now, one thing that I found interesting was that Adrian actually stayed with Kagami when Marinette left, instead of going after her. Now, I know that you might think, oh, well, she had a perfectly good excuse to leave, but typically Adrian would be the kind of person who would be like, okay, well, let's go back because we were all out together, and it just kind of feels bad to abandon a really close friend, a very good friend. So I thought that that was a little out of character. I feel like he should have sensed, I mean, he is pretty dense, but I thought that he would have sensed something wasn't necessarily right or anything or something. I don't know, I just felt like he would have gone back with Marinette versus hanging out with Kagami still, but whatever. Moving back to the plot related things, Ladybug realizes that she needs to go see Master Fu because there's no way she can take on this villain by herself. So she meets up with Master Fu, and Master Fu's like, alright, well, you're Ladybug, you're supposed to show up as Marinette because it could jeopardize his identity, but whatever, we're kind of in a pinch. So Ladybug's first instinct was actually to pick the bee Miraculous, but instead, she got jealous of Adrien and wanted to separate Adrien and Kagami. So as a result of that, she picked the Dragon Miraculous because this would separate Adrien and Kagami. So Marinette gives Kagami the Miraculous, and then they have this conversation which is really cold for Kagami to say. Basically, she says that she doesn't want to hurt Marinette because she's basically her only friend. However, she says that Adrien's more important than Marinette, and she would even sacrifice Marinette's friendship for Adrien, and that must have hurt so bad because Marinette was like, yeah, okay, I'm cool, I'm friends with Kagami now, and then just that blow, just, oh man, that must have hurt. So then we see the scene with Jade Turtle / Master Fu versus Hawkmoth, and that was pretty cool. We saw that clip a couple days ago, so it's awesome to see the full context of it. So we don't actually know what happened to Master Fu. However, it's gonna be my guess that he got captured because at the last scene that we really see him in, his shield had cracked. And so that makes me believe that they could took him captive because there's not really much he can do at that point. I mean, he could run away, but I feel like they could just follow him and eventually take him out because they just have so much more of an advantage. So I think that Master Fu is captured at this point. So we see some more fighting with Adrien, Kagami, and Cat Noir, just the typical episode kind of stuff that you would find. And then there were some signs of Cat Noir starting to lose a little bit of interest in Ladybug and starting to focus on Kagami because he realizes that Ladybug's just not going to work. And then we cut to Hawkmoth and Chloe. Now this part was really interesting because back when Chloe first received the Miraculous, I was like, yeah, Chloe's going to improve as a person and it's going to be all good. But now I realize that that only works if there's people actually trying to make that work. Chloe's not going to change without any people trying to help her change, and in this case, Ladybug hasn't been trying to help her change. Like, at the beginning, she was starting to change, but then just Ladybug stopped helping and stopped caring about her, so then she started to realize this and started to get angry at Ladybug. So ultimately, this is all Ladybug's fault, so another akumatizee caused by Marinette, so we can add that to the counter. So basically, Hawkmoth convinces Chloe to join his side. Now there was this little subtle little hint there to what could possibly happen in the next episode. Hawkmoth makes this analogy of Chloe being the queen on the chessboard, and the queen is the most powerful piece on the entire board. It can do the most moves. And then Hawkmoth tells Chloe that she's going to be the commander of a complete army. So it's very likely that Hawkmoth is going to be going around and selecting people to hold on to Miraculouses and or just akumatizing people and creating this giant army. Hawkmoth is the king and Chloe is the queen. Now, I don't know what Mayura is, she's probably just like a bishop or something, but I do think that Hawkmoth will be recruiting other people to join this army, and it does make sense for the Battle of the Miraculous. So at the end of the episode, we're left with an akumatized Queen Bee, so that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what Miracle Queen looks like. But we know that this is basically just going to be like a super powered evil villain that's going to be super hard to defeat, so it's just going to be really cool. Now the heroes didn't actually have to do anything else with Heart Hunter. Basically Hawkmoth unakumatized them because that was his and Chloe's agreement. And that's really it for this episode. We end off with some more shipping parts, but as far as the plot related stuff, that's all we got. So we end on this tease of Adrien almost being kissed by Kagami. We don't actually know though. So there is a chance for you guys who really like to hold out, like there is the chance that Adrien's going to be like, nope, I'm in love with someone else. So that's a possibility. But if that was true, then the shot where we see Andre, that might have been a little bit different. I don't know. Also, Andre's looking there like, I shipped the other pair. So I don't know. That's just kind of funny. So then Marinette meets up with Luca by chance. And Luca's like, hey, are you alright? And then Marinette's like, yeah, I'm fine. But then she breaks into tears. And this is where things start to get a little interesting. Because Marinette's like, I'm sick and tired of all the responsibilities. And to me, Marinette doesn't have like hardly any responsibility at all. Now, obviously she has a bunch of responsibility as Ladybug, but as Marinette, she really doesn't have that much. She's got school, she's got a couple like baker's errands, but like other than that, there's not that much responsibility at all. So if I was Luca, I would be thinking, what responsibility? Is there something she's not telling me? Something like this. And then Luca says, you can tell me everything or nothing, you can be yourself around me. So this makes me think that there's a possibility that Marinette will tell Luca that she is Ladybug. Now obviously there's a bunch of red flags with that, as far as like you're not supposed to do that and that breaks a bunch of stuff. But I think that it's a possibility and it's important to put out there because it could totally happen. It makes sense in this circumstance, and Marinette being a little unstable right now might end up going down that route. So basically we've got Adrigami and Lucanette, and that's kind of where we leave off the episode. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Lucanette ended up like becoming a full-on thing. Now obviously Adrianette's the OTP like I said earlier, and it's gonna remain that way. There's a super low chance of that not actually coming true by the end of the series. But this isn't a ship that I'm gonna hate. I do like Lucanette because Luca's just such a nice person, but I do think that Marinette's just gonna end up like realizing eventually that Luca's not really for her because she continues to think about Adrian or whatever. But Luca's just a really sweet guy, and honestly, I wouldn't be mad about this if it happened just for a little bit, like a season. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy, you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. The finale, part 1, we've got it here. Pretty cool. Luckily, it wasn't as spoilery and things as everyone thought it would be. But yeah, so I'll talk to you in the next video. Goodbye.
Wow, it's the first time I've seen you with your hair down.